Rent-A-Girlfriend. If you're quite well into the anime scene, you will know how much of a bad reputation this series has, especially with the latest manga chapters. It's come to the point now where even if the series ended now, the damage is pretty much already done. But it's quite a shame because it didn't have to be this way. It could have been a great rom-com. So it got me thinking, if Rent-A-Girlfriend's story is pretty much ruined, why not go over points in the story that could have been better and rewrite the series myself? In this video, I, Adachi, will be going over key points in the story, characters, and arcs to see what could have been changed to maybe make the series not as bad as it is, or maybe the plot was the killing factor in the first place. Let's find out. The premise of the story isn't bad, it's actually quite interesting and unique, especially since you don't see many rom-coms taking place in early adulthood, but the execution is what ruins it. The story starts off with Kazuya getting dumped and using a rental girlfriend app to fulfill his loneliness. He's quite hated for this, but I don't think it's bad at all from a writing standpoint. There isn't anything wrong with a character starting out as a loser and a simp if they change over time to become better, but that doesn't really happen with Kazuya at all, and that's a big critique I have with him. He doesn't ever learn or changes. Throughout the whole series, he's the same insecure simp. If we saw him work on himself, he would have been a more likable character. He doesn't have much of a personality besides wanting girls. All he thinks about is Chizuru and never comes out and tells the truth that he likes her. And this cycle repeats over and over again throughout the series. So if I were to rewrite Rent-A-Girlfriend, the first thing I would change is Kazuya's character. He's the protagonist and is supposed to be the person we're all rooting for, but the story never really gives us a reason to. That's why I would show more scenes of him genuinely trying to be better rather than being pathetic. I'm not saying he should be perfect because he's not, and that's the point, but I would want him to learn from his flaws. That would make his reason for wanting to be with Chizuru much stronger and would actually make us root for him. Because remember, a big problem with this series is the lack of character development in Kazuya, so I would add more meaningful scenes where he's able to show that he's trying. Another big problem with this series that I think could be fixed is the repetitive cycle of will they or won't they confess. Every time Kazuya tries to confess to Chizuru, something dumb happens in the story, dragging it out, which can feel very annoying, but also keeping you invested in wanting more. This writing strategy works in the moment to get the viewer engaged, but if you keep on doing it over and over again, it's going to get very weak and repetitive, especially if you drag it out to almost 400 chapters. Like, goddamn! I know this romance is a slow burn and it's supposed to be dragged out, but instead of making the premise will they won't they, it would be much better if the structure of the story was about Kazuya and Chizuru growing as people and learning what love is. Since Kazuya is a virgin and hasn't experienced real love, and it's pretty clear that Chizuru hasn't had much experience in being in relationships as well. That's why I think the season 3 movie arc was the best Rent-A-Girlfriend has ever gotten. It displayed both characters actually having goals and relying on each other. Chizuru wanted to create a movie to show to her grandmother before she passed away, since her dream was to see Chizuru on the big screen, and Kazuya wanted to create a movie with Chizuru to show her dying grandma how great of an actor she is. This arc showed a ton of progress with the relationship between Kazuya and Chizuru and their character development. It broke the repetitive cycle and focused more on actual character development between the two. If the series went with this story structure instead, I think a lot of people would enjoy Rent-A-Girlfriend way more, because we'll be seeing progress. But we still need to fix up the antagonist, so let's talk about Mami, because she definitely could have been better written. A few years ago, when I started reading the manga, I hated her, as I'm sure a good portion of you probably did as well. But looking back on it now, she seems like an interesting character at the time, because as the reader, she makes you question what her motives are as the antagonist of the series. But as the story goes on, she doesn't really have any motives or reasons why she does the stuff she does. She's just trash, honestly. So if I were to fix that, I would give her a reason for wanting to sabotage Kazuya's relationship with Chizuru, and an actual good reason. Maybe she broke up with Kazuya impulsively and regretted it afterwards, but can't accept she was in the wrong, so she tries to ruin his relationship with Chizuru to see if he'd get back with her. This would give her an actual reason why she does the things she does throughout the series, due to the guilt and regret she's been facing, but doesn't want to admit it no matter what. So if I were to rewrite it, I would have her appear at moments when Kazuya and Chizuru's relationship deepens. So for example, throughout the story when we see the two grow as people, Mami will come in the mix at parts and try to end their relationship, making her feel like an actual antagonist. She'll play the role of Kazuya's past, which will also make it show how much he's grown after Mami broke up with him. Now when it comes to Chizuru, she isn't all that bad of a character, it's more so the dragging plot that ruins her character. Because it's clear as day that she likes Kazuya Kazuya, yet for some reason she just won't tell him or accept his feelings. And she knows damn well he's in love with her, but for some reason she doesn't do anything about it. It's quite annoying actually, since Kazuya's actually tried confessing multiple times, but every time he does, something dumb happens or Chizuru cuts him off. So I wouldn't say the problem is with Chizuru herself, but more so just poor writing. If I were to fix things, I would maybe show a scene where Chizuru is by herself monologuing about what he thinks of Kazuya. Since at this point in the story in my version, they've both bonded and have grown a ton. She'll say to herself that she is in fact in love with Kazuya, but won't tell him because she's afraid of how being in a relationship with him would look like, or that she wouldn't want to date someone that started out as a client to her. This would give her an actual reason as to why she won't tell him. It would also give us the knowledge that she in fact likes him, so now it would just be a matter of them naturally getting closer and learning what real love is. I think that would be a more entertaining concept for Rent a Girlfriend with the same sort of plot, but with actual character development, growth, and an understandable antagonist. Now that we've gone over Chizuru, let's talk about Ruka lastly, since honestly, she's a pretty pointless character. All she adds is unnecessary drama and only ever talks about how much she loves Kazuya, and only fell in love with him because he made her heart beat faster. I never liked Ruka as a character and always thought she was annoying, so if I had to fix that, I would give her a more reasonable reason as to why she fell in love with Kazuya. Maybe she actually met him years ago and did something nice for her, but for him it was nothing, but to Ruka it meant everything. But due to them meeting so long ago, Kazuya never remembered who she was. So that could be a nice little side story for Ruka's character. Imagine if because of what happened in the past, that was the reason why Ruka decided to become a rental girlfriend, to one day maybe meet Kazuya in the future. That would actually be cool, and it will be more understandable as to why Ruka loves him so much. But I wouldn't make her threaten to blackmail Kazuya and Chizuru's relationship like in the anime. I'd make her and Kazuya just friends, and then she could be a potential love interest. And as the story goes on, she realizes Kazuya loves Chizuru and not her, so she would have to move on and grow as a character. I think if the story went somewhere in that sort of direction, she wouldn't be as annoying and dumb as she is now. I'd actually like her as a character. And yeah. So if I were to rewrite Rent a Girlfriend, I'd make Kazuya grow more as a character throughout the series, make the plot mostly about Kazuya and Chizuru growing together and relying on each other as they learn what it's like to fall in love, make Mami a more fleshed out antagonist and be the symbol of Kazuya's past, have Chizuru actually acknowledge her feelings for Kazuya instead of being in denial, and lastly, give Ruka a bit more purpose and not as unimportant as she is in the series. I think all those rewrites would make the series at least a little bit better. It sure as hell wouldn't be as long as the manga currently is though, that's for sure. With this sort of premise of a plot, I can see it realistically going 3 to 4 seasons without it feeling a bit dragged out. Maybe 5, I don't know. The idea of the story was never doomed to fail, it's just the way the creator went about it is what ruined the story. You see, I have a love and hate relationship with Rent a Girlfriend. It was the first manga that I actually read through. I never saw the anime first, and although it wasn't the best story, it was entertaining. During quarantine, I would read 20 chapters a day, and when I finally caught up, I read it weekly for a good while. But when I look back on all the chapters I read, really a bunch of nothing happened. And it's kinda sad cause back then I thought they were dragging the story out, especially during the Paradise arc, but I thought the series would conclude eventually. Like during that arc they made it seem like Kazuya and Chizuru would finally get together. Next thing you know, 3 years later, nothing changed. And I've pretty much accepted at this point that this show is pretty poorly written, and even if Chizuru and Kazuya got together and everything, the damage has already been done. But even still, this manga will always be important to me, especially in my anime journey. The series may be different for you, but to me, this manga reminds me of those quarantine days and me just itching to read the next Rent a Girlfriend chapter. This author knows how to make this series entertaining, I'll be honest, but it doesn't mean it's good. In conclusion, that's how I'd rewrite Rent a Girlfriend. With some changes with the characters and the story structure, this could have been a really great rom-com. Even though the series sucks, it'll always be one of those series that'll stick with me because of how much time I've spent with it. But hey, that's just what I think. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think of my take on the story. Do you think I missed a few things, or if you disagree, let me know in the comments. I read every comment and reply to some too. If you like this sort of video, let me know. I'd love to do more of these anime rewrites in the future. But anyways, keep watching anime, subscribe if you want to see more, and Adachi out.